All right. See, we have quite a few attendees online, which is great to see, and it's time to kick off our 2020 annual joint conference. My name is Todd Ohlheiser, Executive Director of the Colorado Stone, Sand, and Gravel and the Colorado Ready Mix Concrete Association. And as you can see, we lucked out with the weather again. We've got a beautiful day going, and as we have for many years, we're meeting at the Broadmoor. Now, they pushed us outside because of the social distancing and so forth. And in fact, we're quite a bit of ways, as you can see, but we are out on the front lawn, and it's great to be here on this beautiful setting. So looking forward to a great conference in regards to that. So.
Hey, Todd.
Yeah.
They know.
No, they don't know there's a Broadmoor, right?
No, it's virtual.
It's virtual, and they're on to us.
They know.
So you guys, maybe you're right. We were going to try to pull it off. We're sitting in front of the Broadmoor, but actually, as you know, we're locked up like the rest of you. So
now, Todd, I think we should mention why you and I are not social distancing and not wearing our masks today.
While abiding by all the guidelines.
Luckily enough, Todd and I took our COVID tests yesterday, and they both came back negative. So we're able to host this from our beautiful conference room. Yeah. I'll go ahead and change up our background so we can kind of show off some of our sponsors, if that works for you.
Let's do that. Let's move away from the Broadmoor and move on to business.
Hey guys, also we can see your chats, and thanks so much. It's Johnny and John that have chatted with us, so we're excited to have you both here today, and the rest of you too. I guess I think we practiced this, and I forgot to say I'm Annalise Shepard with the Colorado Stone, Sand, and Gravel Association and the Colorado Ready Mixed Concrete Association. Thank you for being here today.
All right, the other thing is this session is being recorded, so what you can do is if you don't want to watch football on Thanksgiving afternoon, you can view this again, which I'm sure many of you will be wanting to do that. So let's kick this off again. We'll start with our
PowerPoint.
Where are we at?
I'm gonna share your PowerPoint right now. I think everybody, they're used to some of these PowerPoints and Zoom meetings.
Yeah. Let's do that. So we'll start this thing off again. And thanks everyone for being here. We'll get down to some business. Thanks for joining our
JT
virtual
or Emma,
conference.
Could you guys let me know if we've got the, here, we'll just duplicate this.
Yeah. Go
All
ahead.
good?
There you go.
Perfect, thanks. Continue.
Okay, very good. All right. Again, thanks for joining. Regardless of the format, it's a pleasure to be here. We will move to the next slide. As with every year, as you know, this conference will be no different. And while everyone's separated and regardless, we need to put our antitrust statement out front and abide by our antitrust guidelines, as we have always done and now always continue to do. So with that, let's go to our agenda. And our agenda for today is going to be a combination of recorded and live messages. And that allowed us to get a lot of information in without dealing with some of the glitches that would likely come up.
That you may see a few of even though today.
Exactly. We want to put that disclaimer out there. There's a lot of effort that's gone into this, but you're probably going to see, as you have with other conferences you've been on, some the glitches or delays. We're working very hard to make sure that there's nothing, but nonetheless, it's new times for all of us, I guess. Regardless of, regarding the agenda, we're going to start with a business overview of CSSGA by Zane Luttrell, our president. Next is going to be a 2020 election update by Colorado Chamber of Commerce President, Mr. Chuck Berry. He'll be joining us live. Then at 2:30, we recognize excellence in our industry with our 2020 award ceremony. Last but not least, Cole Jacobs, president on the Colorado Ready Mix Concrete Association, will inform us of the highlights and the inner workings at the CRMCA. We'll also end with a closing video that I guarantee, it's a guarantee, that you'll be talking about between now and December 31st. You won't want to miss that.
Todd's going to give us a real send-off for 2020.
It's going to go off with a bang, I'll tell you that right now. Just like at the Broadmoor, the intent today is to be business focused, yet make the event enjoyable. You can tell we're trying to lighten the moment a bit in a virtual situation like that. So it's going to be business focused, yet we want to have some fun. We want to make it enjoyable. I hope it's intriguing and fun for you, yet and leaves you with a better knowledge of the two trade associations. So
thanks, Todd.
Yep.
You ready to show up our welcome package? I saw a couple chat messages, and I got an email or two about the Yeti cups. I think we upped our game. We're trying to make up for the fact that we don't get to be at the Broadmoor in person, seeing everyone. So without further ado, I'll let you kind of show off some of these things.
Yeah, let's do that. So yeah, we just want to cover these quickly, and you have this small brochure in there which talks about the agenda, and our sponsors are listed in here again. You'll see them up on the screen. You'll see them at the breaks. But you know, not a whole lot needs to be said about some of that, but it's included so you can follow along. We also have a couple of some interesting things here sent to us so that the platinum sponsors could put some of this up here. So with EnviroCore cements, we've got two things. You've got them in there, and this gizmo is for opening doors and pushing buttons on elevators,
not trying to push other people's buttons.
And then the infamous stress ball, which if there's a fitting year for a stress ball, it's likely 2020. So
I don't know what he's talking about. I've been pretty chill all year.
So we have that. We mentioned the Yeti cups. Because of the sponsors, we were able to we did feel we wanted to do something unique. We wanted to get something. We didn't put the year on these for a reason. We wanted to get you something so that years from now, you'd have a great memento of this conference. And so we did that with spent a little more money on those things, and we're glad to do that. And again, it's because of the sponsors. And the last thing, I'm going to have Annalise talk about the thing in your packet, the Conrock, Colorado, which she really did. And she's going to talk a little bit about that.
All right. So you guys, anybody that registered before Monday should have received this welcome package. We'll get the rest of those sent out that by the end of this week. And I want to acknowledge and thank Emma Dolan for making that all happen and run smoothly. So in this year's Conrock, Colorado magazine, it's actually the first time in over 10, 15 years?
Long time that we've done it jointly.
Yeah, that we did it between the CRMCA and CSSGA membership. So our theme this year was building resiliency. And as people on the CRMCA side probably know, we typically have a cover photo contest. And this year's winner was Tom Beadle with Martin Marietta. So congratulations again. And throughout the magazine, you'll see some messages from our board presidents. I think probably my favorite, I don't know, I have the end, we might see another favorite selfie of Todd. One of my favorite selfies of Todd. We also, JT talks about the ACI certification and kind of the strangeness over the last year. And we were lucky enough to have our committee chairs for our safety committee, Andy Geisler with Burnco and Dana Svensson with Sherman and Howard, write a little bit more about COVID in the workplace and kind of practical implications as well as regulatory impacts. So that's a pretty interesting article. We also have some economic impacts that are specific to Colorado, and some other gems in there for you all. So I encourage you to browse through that, and we always have extra copies if anybody wants to share those.
Yeah, and so thank you, Annalise. And I think the last thing in your welcome packet was some rolls of toilet paper, wasn't it? Did we get those in, or Shelves were empty.
We tried to order some yesterday personally in my household. None.
Little humor there, but crazy year, right? So it's hard to believe.
Hey, Rob, while I thank Emma, I'm also going to throw Emma under the bus because looks like Burnco might have not gotten those. So she'll be able to tell you with the tracking and where those got shipped. Sorry, Emma. You can pop on and give me a hard time if you need to.
So anyway, because of our sponsors, we were able to do a nice package like that, and again, specifically the Yeti cups. But so I'd like to thank our sponsors, obviously. Albert Fry and Sons, these are at the platinum level, which was our highest level this year. Albert Fry and Sons, CMEX, Wholesome US, Martin Marietta, Mountain Cement Company, and Transwest Trucks. Again, really stepped up at the highest level, and we appreciate that. At the silver level was Four Corners Old Castle United Companies. At the bronze level was CTL Thompson, Ferris Machinery, MAPE Corporation, Terex Advance, Tetra Tech, and Transpro Bergner. And we, again, thank you for all your sponsorship. You guys have always been generous, and we really appreciate it, especially in an off year like this. So as we kick this off, we're going to start with a few messages from a few different people. This includes one from our business partner at DRMS, Executive Director Jenny Brannan. She's got a brief message for you, and also association staff Emma Dolan, JT Masseet, and Ann Lease, who is here, have recorded messages saying hello to you, our membership. After that, you'll see Zane's CSSGA business update. So let's roll those videos if we could.
Okay, perfect. Share our computer audio and optimize the screen. Remember, Todd, you gotta make sure I do it.
I keep forgetting that myself.
Good afternoon. I'm Jenny Brannan, Division Director for Reclamation, Mining, and Safety within the Colorado Department of Natural Resources. First of all, I just want to thank you for having me today. It's always a pleasure to be here. Of course, usually we're at the Broadmoor, but we'll be back soon. And second, I want to thank you for the great partnerships that we are able to form in our work with you. It includes mine safety training, as well as achieving excellence in reclamation. We so appreciate your partnership and all that you do for Colorado.
Hello, CRMCA and CSSGA members. Welcome to the 2020 Virtual Annual Conference. Though this year has presented unique challenges, it has also created unique opportunities. I am lucky to work with a staff and memberships that are so willing to go above and beyond and rise to any occasion.
Hello, CRMCA and CSSGA. Thank you all for being here today at our virtual annual conference. We all wish we could be there together at the Broadmoor to have good, lighthearted conversations, or even the serious ones as we've had in the past.
Thanks for joining us today. I hope you're staying healthy and well. I appreciate your flexibility and hope you find value in today's virtual annual conference.
We're excited you're able to join us today, and we appreciate your attendance and involvement. Whether it be online committee meetings, digital discussions, or any other event the associations host, CRMCA and CSSGA members show up and support.
This year has required we all find patience, creativity, and silver linings. At the association, our silver linings include increased committee participation with Zoom, a range of alternative networking like the digital discussions and educational webinars, leadership from our board of directors, committee chairs, members, and my colleagues.
While we would all love to be getting together down at the Broadmoor right now for face-to-face interaction, networking opportunities, and maybe a little bowling, I am so glad to be here with you all in this safe virtual format.
To our board presidents, Zane and Cole,
Thank you for your commitment and dedication to the CRMCA and CSSGA. To our members, thanks for your continued commitment and attendance during these unusual times. I have appreciated these connections.
We all are a great team to better the concrete industry here in Colorado.
We are so grateful and thank you so much for your flexibility, diligence, hard work, and continued support of the associations over the last year.
I want to, of course, thank the committee chairs as well as all of their members for all of their hard work this year to keep things running smoothly, especially in these very chaotic times. And also to all of the ACI volunteers and members of the technical committee that have helped out throughout the year for our seminars, our video recordings, as well as all the ACI certifications.
Dana, Andy, Mike, and Stephanie, I appreciate your willingness to roll with the punches this past year and continue to drive our committees forward.
I want to say a specific thank you to Emma. Without her, none of the ACI certifications or any of the committee meetings could run as they do and be as successful.
Emma and JT, you two have been exceptional, running ACI sessions, recording and editing videos, being moral support, and making this conference a success. Thank you both so much.
Thank you to Annalise and Todd for your leadership and direction every day.
And finally, our Executive Director, Todd Ohlheiser, has had a 20,000-foot view of the COVID-19 pandemic from the start. He's ensured that the association's budgets remain on track, continued to create value for members, and has led with character and empathy throughout this time. I am grateful to have you as my boss during this hopefully once-in-a-lifetime event. With all that said, I must admit I will miss seeing our members in person. Celebrating our members' achievements, learning about industry innovation, and sharing a beverage with members are highlights of my year.
I hope that the days continuously go smoothly for you as we move forward into a new normal.
I hope 2021 brings us back together in person. In the meantime, have a safe and fun holiday season. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it.
We really hope you enjoyed today's program, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you all in person soon. Thank you so much.
We look forward to having a meal or even a drink with you soon.
Cheers. Thanks for being here.
Thanks everyone for attending. I am Zane Luttrell with Rocky Mountain Aggregate and Construction, and I'd like to thank you for attending this virtual conference. We have continued to adjust and adapt to this ever-changing environment caused by COVID-19. We appreciate everyone's understanding and assistance to make this conference the best that it can be. I'll be walking you through the business overview for the CSSGA. Even though this year has been a year like any other, we've managed to keep focused on initiatives laid out in our mission and strategic plan. While many are clear on the expectations, our mission is to advance policies and regulations that protect and expand the safe and environmentally responsible use of aggregates in building Colorado's economy and infrastructure. CSSGA's direction. Our current priorities remain within the areas of safety, government affairs, environmental, educational outreach, networking, and communication. In each one of these are areas of focus that are tracked as shown on the previous slide. First up is safety focused on training and participation outreach. Our formal training program is partnered with the Colorado Department of Reclamation, Mining, and Safety, DRMS, to create the Mine Safety Institute, offering Part 46 training and tracking on various delivery platforms. It's unique because it has real mines with real miners, where the competition typically has animation. Sales continue across the U.S. We are pleased to report we assisted DRMS in being awarded a $50,000 grant for video and training updates. These are planned to be started next season, although the timing is dependent on the virus. Next is participation. Regarding participation and outreach, there are several approaches. The key components include members, roundtable sessions with membership, and our safety award programs. Later today, during the awards presentation, you'll see winners of the Rodman Stewart Memorial Safety Award and the newly named Unprecedented Safety Innovation Award. Also, a major aspect of outreach is the educational webinars held this year. CSSGA, along with CRMCA, led or partnered with other groups to deliver 13 safety-related webinars. Webinars not only offered training for members, but also gave associate members an opportunity to showcase their knowledge and network. The green represents those with an emphasis on mining. Thanks for the leadership of Dana Svensson and Andrew Geisler for their leadership with the committee. Government affairs remains an important aspect to CSSGA membership. This must include active lobbying efforts at the Capitol, and thanks to Tatsi Rees, Garrett Barra, and the legislative subcommittee led by Ben Fry, we were able to accomplish this. This leads to our PAC program and political endorsement list regarding the candidate support. Also, Grassroots program makes an impact as members can directly and quickly contact elected officials and issues critical to our industry. And our participation in the successful CIC 527 with our partners in the CRMCA, CCA, CAPA, and CPA. Also, while 2020 is an election year, we are successful in bringing candidates to our members with candidate forums. These were done jointly with CRMCA, and Cole Jacobs will be discussing these later in the CRMCA business update. It has been a busy year with the land use and environmental committees. As we fight for the industry, we have filed 2 amicus briefs in support of the right to mine. Another success story is our successful industry roundtable meetings with regulatory agencies. Even this year, CSSGA hosted an interactive session attended by membership. Thanks to Stephanie Fancher English for leading this group. Educational outreach. Regarding educational outreach, we primarily switched to online versions to get our message out. So while we will continue to do industry tours and education, this year CSSGA focused on what we call digital discussions. 2 award winners for the 2020 Gail Lyman Memorial Scholarship are Cade Mendenhall, that is attending Mesa University in Grand Junction, and Angelina Rivera, who is attending the School of Mines. Our digital discussions were held in conjunction with the CRMCA and were very successful in bringing out not only speakers like NSSGA leadership to us, but many others that provided general information, economic outlooks, and knowledge beyond our industry. We plan to keep this format moving into 2021. Mike Sheehan continues to lead this group in a very effective manner. So while we'd be successful with tours like those pictured at the top, the digital formats were a great and effective substitute like those pictured below. Networkings. So while much of the networking was held digitally, there were a few items that we could do face-to-face. We look forward to a time when we can interact personally again. Rock communications. Our communication includes 3 district areas: online media, publications, and public relations. Online media used website and social media. We continue to utilize social media through monthly blogs and e-news, publications that are traditional along with new media, Conrock Magazine combined with CRMCA, Colorado Public Works Journal, and Colorado Construction Design, and communication through public relations, communities, Support a Soldier, and industry outreach tours. All of this leads to our annual review process where the board can set and update key initiatives, track progress quarterly, and set and monitor our annual budget and cash flow forecast. It is important that this plan be clear and updated as critical actions can change. By updating annually, we can list and track the performance, link to staff goals, and ensure everyone is pulling the same direction. This slide shows an overview of the process, which allows CSSGA to remain focused, yet adaptable to members' needs. Budget overview. This is tied together with our operating budget. This year, we anticipate coming in with a forecast of plus 22,000 versus a budget of plus 10,200. We focused on cost reduction early in the year, not knowing what to expect from the pandemic. Obviously, being an essential industry has been key to the association remaining at our budget. As we expect 2021 to be closer to a normal year, our budget is set at plus 3,200. Here's a detailed picture of our 2021 budget that was approved as a part of the annual meeting in October. Many items remain similar to 2020 that make up the 2021 budget of plus $3,200. 2021 year-end cash forecast based on the budget equates to a 9.5-month cash reserve. In conclusion, this completes the CSSGA Association update. I want to thank the staff for their efforts throughout the year. Most importantly, thanks to all of our dedicated members that give so much back to the industry by volunteering, sponsorships, and association interaction. It's been an honor serving as your president this year. It is my hope that you and your families enjoy a safe and memorable holiday season. Thank you.
Thanks, Zane. We appreciate it. I know you're on here watching. Well, that actually wraps up our CSSGA update and our welcome. So we're going to move into break time. So feel free to grab a cup of coffee, answer an email, and stick around to view your event sponsors. The chat will also remain open and on through the break. So feel free to interact with each other or reach out to the panelists, which will be me and Todd, yep, Emma, and JT. And we'll be back at 1:45 for the 2020 election analysis from Colorado Chamber of Commerce's Chuck Berry, and that will be followed by the awards presentation. Thanks.
See you soon.
Emma? Are you here? Are you joining us from the Broadmoor?
I am. Hey, Todd. Hey, Annalise. I hope you can
Hello,
hear me.
Emma.
How's it going? I hope you can hear me okay with all the pins crashing from the strikes being bowled in the background.
Oh, nice. How are you bowling today?
Pretty typical. Not great, but having fun.
Oh, yeah? Have you seen any of our members there? I think I see a couple comments in here that they wish they were down there with you.
I know it. They must be wandering in any minute.
Are you going to make fun of her shoes?
I am. Yeah. Did you bring your bowling shoes? That's all I want to know.
I did, but unfortunately on the Zooms, you can't see my shoes. So you're just going to have to take my word for it.
That's a good thing, and saved me many a time from the waist on down, but that's another story.
And I think too much information.
That's right.
All right.
But welcome back from the break, everyone, or welcome to all those who are just joining us for the keynote speaker and award ceremony portion of the day. Todd, Annalise.
Perfect. Well, I also just, if anybody's joining us, want to assure you that Todd and I have taken our COVID test.
Got our masks, so when we walk away.
We do have our masks for shared spaces in the hall, but otherwise we are want to assure you that we are taking things very seriously with the pandemic. And I'm going to turn it over to Todd to introduce Mr. Chuck Berry. So Chuck, I know that this is a little different than what we practiced yesterday, but hopefully thanks for rolling with what we were going through. But Todd will read your bio.
Yeah, thanks, Chuck. As you can see, Chuck's on. So a little bit of our keynote speaker. As Colorado Chamber of Commerce president, Chuck Berry has headed the statewide chamber since mid-2000. Prior to that time, Berry served as a member of the Colorado legislature for 14 years. And for 8 of those years, Berry served as a Speaker of the House, being elected 4 times by his legislative colleagues to the most powerful position in the General Council Assembly, Colorado General Assembly. Berry was first elected to the legislature in 1984 to represent House District 21 in Colorado Springs and El Paso County. Prior to that, Berry practiced as special counsel with the law firm Holm, Roberts, and Owen. He was appointed El Paso County Attorney for the Board of County Commissioners, and he has served in that position until his election into the General Assembly in 1984. And by the way, to all attendees, we will have the chat room open and encourage questions coming in for Mr. Berry, and then we'll read those to him and so forth. It's a pleasure to introduce our speaker, Mr. Chuck Berry.
Well, good afternoon. Todd, thank you. And as he said, I am the president of the Colorado Chamber of Commerce. I've held that position for about 20 years. So I've seen a lot of ups and downs in our political landscape and our Colorado economy. But of course, I've never seen anything like what we're experiencing now with the coronavirus pandemic. At this point, I think most all of us have had a good friend or a work associate or even a family member contract positive with the virus. But I hope that all of you have come through this without any loss. You may have seen that earlier this week, 2 members of our Colorado congressional delegation tested positive for COVID-19. Representative Perlmutter from Jefferson County and Representative Lamborn from Colorado Springs. And we wish them well as they hopefully recover from their positive testing. You know, when this broke out in the middle of March and the shutdown orders were imposed, many of us thought this would be over by the time the summer began, never to return again. We were completely wrong. And now here we are in Colorado through increased testing. We are discovering that the highest rates of infection since this all began. And our hospitals are experiencing the pressure of ever increasing numbers of COVID patients. Well, Todd asked me to share my views on what the recent election means for Colorado business, for your industry, and the Colorado economy as we look forward to the coming year. We had been told for weeks what was going to happen based on polling. Many characterized this was going to be nationally a strong blue wave. And while that may have happened in Colorado, it didn't happen nationally. And it really calls into question, I think, the value and benefit as we go forward of polling. It's very expensive, and it's really something that I think we need to question whether we should rely on. And frankly, from my position in my organization, until the processes the polls use significantly improve, I don't think we're going to be spending any of our members' precious money on polling. Well, nationally, it appears that the Trump team lawsuits are not going to likely change the announced result, and that former Vice President Biden is likely to assume the office of president on January 20th. Now, the Georgia runoff elections in early January will determine who holds the majority in the United States Senate. It's going to be close, but it's very important who will actually be the majority party. At this point after the election, the Republicans are now at 50 seats, and they need one more to retain their majority. The Democrats are at 48 seats, and they would need to win both of the Georgia runoff elections in order to get to 50, which would then give likely Vice President Harris the tiebreaker and a significant power in the United States Senate. Across the aisle at the U.S. Capitol and the U.S. House of Representatives, rather than being a blowout for Democrats, as the pollsters predicted, the Republicans actually gained at least 8 seats. And according to Monday's Wall Street Journal, once the counting is completed and all of the final results are in, the Republicans could have picked up as many as 13 seats, significantly narrowing the majority that the Democrats have in the U.S. House. A narrower majority for the Democrats means that it will be more difficult for the extremists in their caucus to gain any traction for their anti-business measures, such as the so-called Green New Deal. Well, what does this mean for Colorado business, your companies, for our economy? If the Republicans gain just one of the Georgia seats, they will retain their majority at 51. You'll have divided government again in Washington, and anti-business legislation will be less likely to get through the Congress. On the other hand, I think the regulations imposed by business by the federal government could likely become more burdensome next year, perhaps much more burdensome. Simply, if you look back to the years of the Obama-Biden administration, I believe we can assume there will be challenges to business by empowering labor unions to impose membership and other work arrangements on private sector companies. The National Labor Relations Board, appointed by the president, has been favorable to employees during the last 3.5 years. But next year, we may be able to anticipate a change in policy that would empower forced unionization as a more favored regulatory practice. I think additionally, under a Biden administration in the coming year, the Environmental Protection Agency will have a whole new cast of characters and will become more aggressive in regulating private sector companies. Obviously, we don't have the details at this point, but I think it's something you should anticipate and place close attention to, given the work your industry does on your 2 associations. For sure, there'll be court challenges on regulatory changes, but I think you can look for more intrusive programs like what we saw in the past with the EPA's Waters of the United States regulation, swimming pools to small ponds on farms and ranches. Well, in Colorado, Election Day was a good day for the candidates on the Democratic side of the ticket. Of course, Vice President Biden defeated the incumbent president fairly easily here in Colorado and gained our state's 9 electoral votes. And in a high visibility, hotly contested United States Senate race Former Governor John Hickenlooper ousted our current United States Senator Cory Gardner. The margin in the Colorado House delegation is going to remain the same, with the Democrats holding 4 of the 7 seats and the Republicans holding 3 of them. Only one change in the 3rd district, a new Republican candidate was elected there. Now in the State House here in Denver, under our Gold Dome, where my organization is significantly focused, in the Colorado State Senate, the Democrats picked up 1 seat, and going into the coming session, they will enjoy a 20-15 majority. While in the State House, the margin will stay the same, with a significant Democratic majority of 41 seats against 24 Republicans. What happened on November 3rd was 1 Democrat lost her seat, but an incumbent Republican lost his seat as well, so the margin stays the same. You know, we learned just Tuesday, several days ago, that the General Assembly will reconvene right after Thanksgiving in a special session called by Governor Polis to pass relief measures for those Coloradans most impacted by the coronavirus. And that, of course, includes small business, daycare centers, similar entities suffering through this. We don't know all the details yet, but we'll know more of those in the next several days. Legislative leaders feel that they have the ability to provide some financial relief to those most challenged in the coming months. One example would be that where restaurant, bars, and similar entities have to collect a sales tax of up to 3% and then give that to the state of Colorado, one legislative proposal would let them keep the sales tax that they charge to customers and retain those revenues to help them get through this. I don't know how big a deal that is, but it's some measure of help. The bigger question, of course, in the coming days is whether the lame duck Congress and the president will pass another stimulus package. You know, with the federal debt growing ever larger, but with significant monies coming to a wide variety of Americans who are challenged by the coronavirus. I don't know about you, but for my grandchildren, I worry as the Congress continues to significantly balloon the federal debt. It's a very challenging time. Looking ahead at this year, looking ahead to next year at this time, it's an open question as to what will happen with our Colorado legislature in January and February. Now, the Colorado Constitution requires that the Assembly convene its annual regular session no later than January 13th of next year, and it's clear they'll do that. But the open question is, what comes after that? 4-3 decision overturned the long-time belief that the 120-day limit on our legislative sessions had to run concurrently, day after day, and then at the end of that consecutive 120 days in early May, the legislature had to adjourn. Well, the court ruled that the legislature actually has a power to suspend its session, not counting days in between, and then resume at a later date. That's what happened earlier this year when the legislature marched and did not go back into session until after the Memorial Day weekend. And then they continued to meet into the middle of June. So now legislative leaders are considering suspending the session for the early months of next year until the coronavirus threat subsides. Perhaps there's a vaccine, and then going back into session in the spring, still entitled to meet for almost 120 days. Hopefully this time next month, we will know more. But for those of you who are legislative watchers, who are used to this annual event where the legislature convenes in early to mid-January and then continues to meet until early May when they have to adjourn. It's a whole new world. The 120 days need not be consecutive, says the Colorado Supreme Court. You know, at this point, I think it's important for me to emphasize how important it is for business organizations like yours and like mine to be working together for our common good and the strength of our Colorado economy, as we're likely to face a variety of proposals in the legislature next year. We have to work together, shoulder to shoulder. If there's a good legislative proposal that helps Colorado business, helps our economy, we need to work together to get that passed. On the other hand, if there are proposals that are going to hurt virtually all of us, then we need to be shoulder to shoulder fighting against those. There is power in numbers, and I know a number of legislators respect, and some even fear, strong business coalitions. So whenever the Colorado legislature decides to get down to serious business, I think significant challenges are going to face our businesses in a variety of proposals. So you may ask, what burdens will be placed on Colorado business by the legislature next year? Well, let me mention just one. There probably will be many more, but let me just mention one, which I think is significant. And that concerns the taxes that businesses pay to the state of Colorado. Early this week, the National Tax Foundation issued a report that listed Colorado among the top five states in which businesses would likely see their taxes increased in the coming year. We were grouped with states like California and New York, several others. Hard for somebody like me to believe. You may ask, how does this happen with the constitutional provision of TABOR, which requires a vote to raise taxes? Well, that applies to the rate of taxes, to the rate you pay on your income taxes, to the rate you pay on sales taxes, including business to business sales, where you pay a sales tax rate of almost 3%. Well, the courts have given the legislature in previous years the flexibility to repeal tax credits, tax exemptions, and tax exclusions, some of which have been in effect for many, many years, and for businesses, they have relied on those year in, year out. But it's clear that the Colorado House of Representatives has in its mind to repeal a number of those exemptions, credits, exclusions that perhaps you and your business have relied on. In fact, it did just that in the month of June in this extended legislative session earlier this year. Now, the bill passed the House with a comfortable margin, repealing a lot of these credits and exemptions and thereby raising taxes on Colorado businesses. Fortunately, the bill stalled out. The governor was not favorable to it at that time, and the Senate did not pass the bill. Substantially gutted it, sent it back to the House. But the House sponsors promised that they would bring this bill back next year in the regular session. Finally, as you know, Colorado statewide ballot issues usually contain some measures that impact businesses and our economy. For you and your workforce, perhaps, I believe, perhaps the most significant measure that passed by Colorado voters at the ballot was the Paid Family Medical Leave Insurance Program. This had been defeated year in, year out in previous legislative sessions over the last 6 years. And my organization strongly opposed this measure, which mandated increased payroll taxes and in most cases increased contribution by the employer. Well, the Colorado voters passed the measure. There was an enormous amount of out-of-state money that came in from organizations in Washington and other places, and the Colorado voters passed the measure. I wish they'd had more information perhaps they wouldn't have passed it. But at any rate, in future years, there's going to be significant payroll tax increases. And I think it's up to your HR people, human resources, for your companies to really look into this and try to understand it. It's going down the tracks. It's going to happen. It's not going to happen at once. In fact, this next year of 2021 is going to be more of a year to get ready before it actually gets imposed. But if you already have a paid family medical leave in your own business and you're proud of that and your employees appreciate it, you're still going to have to take that to the Colorado Department of Employment and make sure they approve it as being at least as strong as this measure that the Colorado voters just passed. That would happen not this coming year, but the year after. And then the payroll tax actually wouldn't start being collected until 2023. So fortunately, while it's a very strong mandate on business, one size fits all, you're going to have time to get set up so you can comply with this. But as I said, it's a train coming down the track and it is going to be imposed on Colorado businesses. You know, it was ironic because although Coloradans were voting up and down the ticket for Democratic candidates, the majority of Coloradans voted to pass a measure to reduce the state income tax, to ease the burden on commercial and other businesses for their property taxes. That's by the repeal of the Gallagher Amendment from back in 1982. And I know your organization supported that repeal. So the rigid formula that held business property taxes relatively high compared to homeowner taxes has been taken out of the Constitution. I don't think there's going to be any significant changes right away, although I think over time homeowner taxes will go up. But the property taxes on commercial business and others like yours, I think will remain stable. Colorado voters also passed a confusing proposal to limit the legislature from getting around the so-called Tabor provisions of the Constitution by creating these enterprises, which they have done in a number of years, enterprises funded by fees rather than taxes. But the Colorado voters said, can't do that anymore without prior voter approval. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. And then Colorado voters also passed a significant increase in tobacco related taxes, cigarettes, cigars, and also vaping devices. So those taxes are going to go up significantly. And the proposal earmarks most of those money to go to what they call universal preschool for youngsters before they actually get into the kindergarten and the regular schooling. So it'll be interesting to see how that all pans out. You know, at this point, Todd and Elise, I think maybe we ought to pause for a moment. If there are questions, I'd be glad to take a shot at those.
Well, thank you so much. We did have a few questions come through, so I will, I think I'll start kind of on the immediate focus and then move on to a bit of a broader focus with these. So one question is, our industry has been identified as an essential business. Do you anticipate that the governor's special session will revise the list of essential businesses? And does your crystal ball indicate any other significant changes that would impact our industry from this special session?
You know, I don't. I think you've asked my crystal ball. Preliminary list I've seen, there is no change to the categorization of what Colorado businesses are essential versus those that aren't. So I think that'll stay in place in this coming special session. Now, in terms of what companies in your organizations may get in terms of temporary relief, again, I don't know, but the legislature is talking about spending somewhere between $200 and $250 million in dedicated relief to companies. Now we know, as I mentioned earlier, some of that is going to restaurants, which very soon you're not going to be able to do in-restaurant dining. You may be able to do, if they can set it up outside in a patio or a street. And of course you can continue the takeout to bring home and eat. But I think restaurants, organizations like that are going to be significantly gyms and workout places by this coming restriction. So I think it's a little too early to tell, Annalise, but I don't see anything that I've heard that would be harmful to your industry coming out of this special session.
Well, thank you. Anything you've heard, kind of an insider's point of view on infrastructure funding with this special session? I know that Polis is trying to, keep the economy moving forward as we add on different levels to our restrictions. Anything you've heard on that front?
Well, I've heard some talk, but frankly, I don't think there's enough money in the pot to do any significant infrastructure improvements. One of the sad things that happened back in the early session, and it had to happen to some degree, is some of the dedicated money that the legislature had said will come out of the general fund and go into the highway construction fund. That money was taken out. Hopefully it can be restored when the economy recovers. Hopefully there's a vaccine and we get back to somewhat normal. But I don't, they're talking about it, but I just don't think there's enough money in this pot to do any significant infrastructure in the near term.
Absolutely. Now, again, we're going to talk about the crystal ball, but on the federal level, we had an economist and other speakers on and kind of have heard that, that's obviously we all know it's a stalemate right now, but any indication from your national affiliates about potentially getting some relief measures passed?
Well, I think there is. What we call the Council of State Chambers is in an alliance with the United States Chamber of Commerce, and we have weekly calls. And the one earlier this week, there was some hope by the folks in the U.S. Chamber of Commerce that some kind of stimulus package could be enacted in the near term by, as I say, the lame duck Congress and signed by the president. I thought it was interesting that they predicted that Mitch McConnell would play a much more active role. He's still the Senate Majority Leader and perhaps will be next year unless the Democrats win both of the Georgia seats. But they thought he would play a much more active role, and therefore, rather than the White House arguing with Speaker Pelosi, it might have more of a chance. And all of the election pressure, except I guess for those two Georgia senators, for most legislators, the election pressure is off. Yeah. And it might be easier to get something done with compromise than it was before the election.
Yeah, fair point.
Yeah, thank you. That's it's so helpful to have kind of that insider's understanding. All right, our next question that came in is, the Colorado House and Senate were extremely active last year and were focused on a specific agenda put forth by the Democrats. What is the outlook for this next year, and what are the top priorities in their agenda for 2021?
Unfortunately, there was a glitch in me hearing you.
Well, let me try it over.
If you could repeat the question.
Absolutely. The Colorado House and Senate were extremely active last year and were focused on a specific agenda put forth by the Democrats. What is the outlook for this next year, and what are the top priorities in their agenda for 2021?
Well, I think, as I mentioned earlier, certainly for the House Democrats, the right at the top is taking money from business, frankly, by repealing tax credits so they can do more of the funding they want for education and some of those kinds of programs that are so important to all of us, really. Some of their other programs actually won't be coming back. For instance, the family medical leave was a big priority in the past. That's now law. And so there may be fine-tuning legislation, but it's not going to be a real big agenda item. So another priority of theirs in the past was equal pay for equal work. And I think most of us support that, but the devil was in the detail. And some of that got worked out in the regulatory scheme at the Department of Labor and Employment. We played an active role. Our board chair, Stacy Campbell, testified, and we felt that the regulations that came out were less onerous than we feared when the legislation itself was passed. So those are a couple things. Frankly, the legislature will go into session with a huge burden of underfunding the programs that they've already put into law because of the loss of revenue. In the near term, I don't see any way that they're going to be able to recover those cuts that were made earlier this year as the coronavirus continues to be a burden on our economy, perhaps even a bigger burden as we go into the winter. So I think just figuring out how to handle the budget is their biggest challenge, the state budget. And, I'm not sure they can repeal enough credits and exemptions to fill all their loopholes, although that will continue to thwart business recovery if they're successful in passing the program that those House sponsors have written.
All right. Now, I think here's the question. Let's say you were back in your role at the Colorado legislature. What do you think we should do to try and recover from this completely unprecedented global pandemic in our state in particular?
Well, first, do no harm. That was always my principle. So legislation should not pass that put more burden on businesses. One thing that I would do is really urge the federal government, and I know I lamented the fact that the debt grows and grows and grows, but I would like to see, as part of the stimulus, them to take care of the huge amount of money that's been paid out of our unemployment insurance trust fund. Because frankly, if that's not replaced by federal dollars, I don't see any other way, then there's a time clock ticking in existing law.
Yep.
Businesses are going to have to increase their tax to that they pay to the unemployment insurance trust fund at the Department of Labor and Employment. So I think the way to help our business, in addition to doing no harm, is to try to get federal money earmarked and dedicated into that fund so Colorado businesses don't end up having to replenish that for the long term. Those would be a couple things.
That's very insightful. That's perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to have that insider knowledge.
Is there another one?
Yeah, we've got one more question from our membership here. How is the state chamber planning on working with local chambers of commerce to help business interests organize, lobby, and make a difference? And has the chamber started to strategize on ways to promote pro-business candidates in the next election and help them get elected?
A couple of questions there. We have an organization within the Colorado Chamber of Commerce for local chambers of commerce. They self-fund that organization, but it's primarily dedicated to best practices, and that's so important now for local chambers of commerce to, in many cases, survive. They've relied on small businesses to keep afloat. So we're in close connection on that. And we certainly welcome local chambers of commerce. I think they can have a stronger voice sometimes through their members connecting directly with specific legislators from their communities. Frankly, we can as a broad statewide organization. So we welcome their participation. In most cases, I think we're on the same page. It's not very often that we aren't together. So that's the first question. On the second question, you know, we have a strong candidate interview process. We conducted that through the pandemic in July and interviewed new legislative candidates. Some cases they had won their primaries, in other cases they were simply designated by assembly. So these are new candidates on the general election ballot for the first time. And most of the candidates we endorsed were elected, but a number were not, several in Jefferson County in very competitive races. But we try through our questions, we do a questionnaire first, and then we actually have a face-to-face session. This year it was about 60% virtual, about 40% actually in the room, questioning new legislative candidates as to where they stood on specific business issues. Every candidate out there will tell you they're pro-business, but you need to start asking specific questions about legislative proposals to actually determine if they are. Now, we're going to continue that going into the future. I think one of the big challenges is frankly going to be how campaigns get funded. The levels on donations to our political committee are so low in the Colorado Constitution, we can't really make an impact. We can give $400, and it's not that hard to raise from our members, but once we raise it, we can only give $400 to a legislative candidate. We do have small donor committee, but companies can't give to that. It has to be individuals writing a check or giving us a credit card. And that's money's frankly harder for us to raise, very much easier for labor unions to raise. But at any rate, we'll continue to do that. A lot of the funding is done through what's called independent expenditures, and we have a 527. There's a lot of them out there. We frankly don't want to do negative campaigning. We think that is a blemish on our organization. And for many years, we've not done negative campaigning. We do positive campaigning for people we believe are pro-business candidates. But, you know, in some of these races, it's the negative campaigns that take it over the margin and win. So we'll keep working at it. I hope we can keep as many pro-business candidates in the legislature and elect even more the next time.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Do we have any other questions that rolled in?
No, but I have, you know, and I know we're kind of running out of time, but just maybe a brief thought on what we can do here in the state. You know, we really, I mean, I think you saw it in this past election cycle with this urban-rural divide that we have in Colorado, and I can only imagine that you've seen that increase in your time in Colorado, and what we can do to try and overcome that and try and work together.
Well, I think we need strong political leadership. You know, my observation with that the current governor is very popular in urban areas and not so popular in rural areas. I'd like to see him in the coming year spend more time talking to Coloradans in rural areas and really trying to bridge that gap. But really, it's not just up to him, it's really to all of us. And we try as a statewide organization to bridge that gap. And, you know, we're learning more. Historically, we've done so many in-person meetings that made it really hard for somebody to come from Grand Junction, much less Durango and Cortez. But we are learning how to be more effective in virtual meetings like the one we're having here today. And we need to continue to do that because I think that's a way to bring all of us in Colorado, certainly those of us businesses in the Colorado Chamber of Commerce, closer together because nobody has to get in a car and drive for 2 or 3 hours to come to our meetings. And so we're dedicated to trying to figure that out and do it better in the coming year.
Yeah. Well, no, that's very good. And that's perfect. I mean, this pandemic is changing things like, virtual sessions like this and changing the way we do our business as well. And obviously that's global right now. So, well, if that's our last question, and we're basically right on time, Chuck, I'm gonna say, unless you have any other wrap-up comments.
Well, I want to thank everybody in the audience for listening. I hope what I've had to say has been healthy, and I really wish all of you, particularly as we approach the holidays, stay healthy. We look forward to a day where a vaccine is effective and widely available. Best wishes to you and your family for Thanksgiving. I know we're kind of disappointed here in our household. Happy that we're going to have my daughter and my 6-month-old grandson and our son together. But my wife loves to put on these big Thanksgiving dinners with family and friends. And unfortunately, we're not going to be able to have friends this year because of restrictions. But I hope all of you can celebrate as best you're able to in these restrictive times, not only Thanksgiving, but obviously the holiday season to follow next month. So thanks again for listening, and hopefully it's been of some help to you.
Well, it's been very insightful. So I want to say, as we talked about this, the prep for this, we didn't know how it was. There was some nervousness, I think, and Chuck wasn't a little concerned about how it was going to be pulled off. Let me tell you this, you did a fantastic job. So this
Seriously.
is very good.
Well,
yeah.
thank you.
We appreciate all you do with the chamber, on the statewide chamber. That has a big impact. We know the involvement there. Todd Reese, our lobbyist, is very involved with your group, and really appreciate all you do. So thank you very much. Governmental affairs is a big part of our associations, and this was very insightful. So can't thank you enough.
Very good.
With that, we will move on to a video of our. I was just going to say thanks, Chuck, so much. I'll go ahead and you can stick around for this video of our awards, or if you want to sign off. Really appreciate it, and have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks again.
Absolutely.
Let's move into our awards.
Okay, perfect. I will go ahead and share the awards.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the award presentation. Even though it's been a year we couldn't meet in person, it's still important to recognize those who have led our industry throughout 2020. I want to start by recognizing and thanking each of our committee chairs. This is really where all the work occurs. The committees are critical components of the association, and without the dedicated leaders driving our committees forward, none of this works. I need to thank each of our chairs for their efforts throughout the year. Our committee chairs include, with the Central Market Committee is Jack Kern with Martin Marietta. The Southern Market Committee is Darren Borgschatz, also with Martin Marietta. Western Market Committee is chaired by Scott Baumgardner, Whitewater Building Materials. The Associates Committee is chaired by Tom Cummings with CR Minerals. Government Affairs Committee, Garrett Barra Companies. Legislative Subcommittee, Ben Fry, Albert Fry and Sons. Safety Committee, 2 chairs, Andrew Geisler with Burnco and Dana Svensson with Sherman and Howard. Educational Outreach Committee, Mike Sheehan with Martin Marietta. And the Land Use and Environmental Committee is chaired by Stephanie Fancher English with Loveland Ready Mix. Thank you for all your efforts throughout the year. Each year, on the Ready Mix side, we recognize a committee or leader that has stood out and truly made a difference, one that has taken it upon themselves to go above and beyond. We call this the Committee of the Year. The winner this year is the Southern Market Committee, chaired by Darren Borgschatz. Darren has done a great job of leadership on the committee and led regarding Build with Strength with the conversions of concrete, as well as new commercial structures switched from previous construction methods, in other words, wood. The biggest win is an entire Habitat for Humanity development going concrete and ICF. Thanks for Darren and the entire committee.
Concrete is one of my deepest passions. The CRMCA allows me to share this passion. I've met so many great people through this organization, people who are dedicated to safety and success, which has made it easier to navigate through these difficult times. Our continued success as a committee and an organization is proof. Thank you for this award. Thank you for letting me share my passion. And most of all, thank you for your dedication to the continued success of this committee and organization.
Another award is the recognition of what our technical committee has done this year. In a year when our members have difficulties training their employees on ACI testing techniques, the certifications of concrete testing must continue. Like many other aspects of our lives, online training became critical in order to meet the demand and abide by COVID restrictions. Therefore, JT Mesite took it upon himself to develop a full set of training videos for ACI Field 1 certifications. The 9 videos are done in a timely and professional manner where those seeking future certifications can learn and do the procedures correctly and by the book. I want to recognize the technical committee and specifically JT Mesite for the developments of this important series. In recognition of JT, will be awarded a personalized lab coat, which he already says he's going to wear down at the CDOT all the time. In an effort to have some fun, JT's also going to receive the very first Daytime Emmy Award for his film work and editing. This, of course, follows the Grammy Awards that we did last year. JT, thanks for your technical expertise and the use of innovative ways to train and develop future concrete testers. Here's a sample of the work.
Hi again, this is JT Mesite with Colorado Ready Mix Concrete Association, otherwise known as CRMCA. We're here continuing to assist in the procedures for the ACI Field Concrete Testing Technician Grade 1 certification. Keep the concrete to above the top opening of the cone. Rod the full depth of the layer 25 times, including about 1 inch into the second layer, distributing the strokes across the surface area.
Each year, we also recognize the efforts regarding the community relations and our image of these communities. This is specific to the stone, sand, and gravel side. The Grassroots Award aims to recognize a member company that has made an outstanding effort in grassroots leadership. This year's winner is Albert Fry & Sons, presented to the company, but specifically to CSSGA board member and past president Ben Fry and his brother Al Jr. A few accomplishments include Ben's constant participation at the legislative meetings at the Capitol during the years and even early in 2020 when we met at the Capitol basement. I do not think of a time that Ben didn't show up. And when he's there, he contributes and makes an effort to get his points across, and they're in the best interest of the industry. The entire mining benefits from his efforts. Additionally, one of the things that stands out to me was the touch-up truck event held in the quarry, in the Fry Quarry in last year. It's truly a community event and not just an open house or luncheon. It was obvious the community embraces the company as one of their own. Thanks to Al and Ben for your leadership and efforts to improve the image of mining. Let's switch to safety, which is foremost for all of us. I will say up front that you'll see a few companies receive awards. Please submit your awards next year. As we know, there are many other companies performing similar work, and we'd like to recognize those as well. First up is safety innovation, which is developed to recognize outstanding production employees who has made superior contributions to his or her company regarding the innovations. The goal is to share best field practices throughout the industry. This year, there are 2 recipients. First up is Jamie Duncan with Martin Marietta. He innovated a lazy Susan type table so that the crusher anvil on the vertical shaft impact crusher could be safely and easily changed by a single employee. Jamie and fellow retired co-worker Tom Fox has received this award in the past, fabricated the invention. Most aggregate operations use a sawhorse to change the anvils, and the VSI rotor sits vertically on the sawhorse, which requires 2 employees to change the anvils, and the process can be difficult and potentially unsafe. Jamie's innovation also allows a single employee to change these anvils and balance the rotor with ease.
I came up with it so that one guy could do the whole project without wrestling that VSI around on the ground. You can have it up on the table and just spin around and work on it.
Congratulations, Jamie. You will be receiving a Carhartt jacket in recognition. Travis Newman approached management with his idea to install a davit arm on his impact crusher in order to perform routine crusher maintenance more safely, i.e. replacing the blow bars. The incorporation of the davit arm has allowed the crew to eliminate the use of a large loader with a stinger and all the associated hazards, large equipment operating in a tight area, and the lack of ability to communicate between employees and the equipment operator. The crew is now able to have better control over the blow bar while it's being maneuvered, as well as better social distancing in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. Travis's innovation has eliminated risks while simultaneously improving the maintenance process. This davit arm was designed, built, and installed in-house.
Hi, my name is Travis Newman. I'm a plant manager with Martin Marietta. I've been there for 20 years. I came up with this davit arm platform idea for social distancing and more efficient way to get the job done with our impactor.
Congratulations, Travis. You will also be receiving a Carhartt jacket, and thank you. In addition to our Safety Innovation Award, we also added an Unprecedented Innovation Award in an unprecedented year. This is to recognize the outstanding production employee who has made superior innovation contributions, primarily dealing with COVID. The goal is to again share best practices. This recognition goes to Chad Shepard, again with Martin Marietta. His supervisor writes, soon after Chad was hired, Riverbend Sand and Gravel had an MSHA inspection where the operation received many citations, and many of these citations were due to subcontractors working on site. Subsequently, on the next MSHA inspection in July 2020, the Riverbend operation received 0 citation inspection. Chad spent countless hours coaching and task training the co-workers regarding safe work practices. During the pandemic and within the guidelines of social distancing, Chad revamped how the operation tracked task training, improved daily plant and mobile equipment inspections, and the results were significant. Congratulations, Chad.
Well, we start off every morning with a safety meeting. And what's most important to me is if we can visualize our success before we start our day or do our task, then it makes it a lot easier to be prepared for what could happen, what could go right, what could go wrong. And that's what we try to do every day before we start.
This brings us to safety award we call the Rodman Stewart Award. Mr. Stewart came to Colorado in 1994 to become managing director of the Colorado Rock Products Association, which was the name at the time, and the Ready Mix Concrete Association. He was instrumental in creating the MSHA safety training and education programs that are still in use nationwide today. Therefore, we are honored to present this award in his name. The recipient this year is Mr. Chris Downs with Martin Marietta. Many years, Chris continues to drive safety throughout the West U.S. and the entire industry. Professional safety equipment demonstrations, contemporary first aid and CPR presentations have transformed a federally required mundane training experience into a fast-paced and exciting learning opportunity that infused with cutting-edge innovation and information. Chris, congratulations and thanks for your leadership. Your award is on the way. This year, we're also having an amazing benchmark to acknowledge. We are recognizing Albert Quist from Aggregate Industries with a Legacy Leadership Award. Here to talk about Al's accomplishments is Dale Brooks, General Manager of the Ready Mix Division at Aggregate Industries.
Starting his career with a legacy predecessor company of Aggregate Industries, Al was initially hired as a laborer. Upon mastering the skills of a general mine site laborer, Al moved into the quality control function, then later into the role of a plant operator. His management quickly recognized Al's appetite and skills to be a good fit for a safety manager role. It was in this safety arena that Al found his forte. For decades now, Al has retained his dedication and commitment to ensuring that every employee and third party associated with our operations goes home at the end of each shift uninjured. Over the years, Al has also been a valued contributor to our industry, having participated in numerous safety roundtables, meetings, initiatives, and generally collaborating with his industry peers.
Al Quist has been an integral part of the Aggregate Industries for the best part of 50 years. In addition to Dale's comments, Albert is passionately engaged with employees and third parties to ensure everyone goes home safely each day. He is always the person in the field and on job sites discussing safety with the crew. Al is also the person who is inquisitive and asks the question, is this the safest way? He brings ideas to the table and listens to others' safety ideas as well. Thank you, Al. 50 years of safety leadership. Is the Mixer Truck Driver of the Year. This recognition is to salute the key members of the concrete production and delivery team. The award recognizes the driver's career achievement, safety, professionalism, competence, and customer service skills. We have 2 finalists and an overall winner. John Deceptio has driven for Aggregate Industries for many years. He's our first finalist. At this time, during the time at Aggregate Industries, John has been a model driver and has trained new drivers for the last 6 years. He has been a leader amongst the peers and is always available to help others. He is currently a master driver trainer and has embraced the new defensive driver training course, training all the other drivers over the course of the year. Previously, John was a Smith driver trainer and shows exceptional safety awareness on and off the job. He has volunteered his time for such events as the Touch a Truck, where he took a truck to an event and the kids and the public had the opportunity to climb on the truck and ask questions. John has always enjoyed sharing his knowledge and is an excellent ambassador for the industry. What is worth mentioning as well about John is the fact that he has never had an accident or a lost load during his employment at Aggregate Industries. John will be receiving a check for $250 and the pictured plaque. The other finalist is Jason Brody with Martin Marietta. Jason is a safety mentor and safety driver trainer. He exceeds the responsibilities by coaching not only new drivers, but 10 drivers as well. His can-do attitude, willingness to teach others safe and efficient delivery techniques are rare attributes that contribute to overall success of Martin Marietta. Jason is well respected by the customers and is often a requested driver due to certain job conditions. Jason's commitment to the overall safety of the team is evident in his daily efforts that puts forth to identify any potential hazards, ensuring a safe work environment. Jason will also receive a check for $250 on the pictured plaque. So thank you, Jason. This brings us to our driver of the year, and our first place winner is James Jones with Aggregate Industries. Jim's supervisor writes, since coming in contact with Jim, I could see right away he was a hard worker, and while his job title here is mixer driver, he is much more to Aggregate Industries than just a driver. For the Denver plant, Jim is a driver trainer, loader operator, truck maintenance, and plant maintenance professional. Jim is one of the first guys to volunteer when work needs to be done on the plant or in any truck. Jim is a jack of all trades and a huge asset to Aggregate Industries. In February 2020, Jim went through the new driver training course at Aggregate Industries, rolled out, which is called the Master Driver Trainer. Jim has done an excellent job teaching the course, and the feedback from the others has been positive. I can say it's truly glad to have him on my team. He's been a great guy and get to know and a pleasure to work with. I'm looking forward to working with Jim for many years to come. With over 20 years of driving a mixer, I'm glad to recognize James Jones as the 2020 Mixer Driver of the Year. This award includes the picture of the mount in the picture and a check for $500. Thank you, James, for your service to the industry. I'll now turn this over to Mr. Russ Means, our partner at DRMS, for the Jack Starner Reclamation Award.
Hello, my name is Russ Means, Minerals Program Director for the Colorado Division of Reclamation, Mining, and Safety. Today, it is my privilege to announce the 2020 winners of the Jack Starner Memorial Reclamation Awards. The awards are presented annually by the Colorado Mine Land Reclamation Board in cooperation with the Colorado Stone, Sand, and Gravel Association. On behalf of the state of Colorado, the board, and the division, we would like to say thank you for all your efforts in helping return our lands to a beneficial use. The Jack Starner Memorial Reclamation Award is sponsored by the Colorado Mine Land Reclamation Board and is awarded annually to recognize outstanding reclamation of aggregate construction materials operations and further the collection and dissemination of information about successful reclamation techniques and community outreach. Jack Starner was a member of the Mine Land Reclamation Board and provided valuable guidance to the industry, local government, and environmental community in mine land reclamation. This year, the board is recognizing 2 construction materials companies for their outstanding efforts in reclamation and community outreach. The first award is for outstanding reclamation and returning lands to a beneficial community post-mine land use. It goes to Four Corners Materials, Old Castle Southwest, for the Ewing Mesa Pit project. The Ewing Pit was originally permitted in 1992 by Oak Ridge Energy Coal for coal mine use and reclamation. It was succeeded in operations by Four Corners Materials in 1999. Full reclamation began in 2006, but to achieve it, it took almost 10 years to achieve a successful rangeland habitat Discussion began regarding the potential post-mine land use with community as reclamation was finishing up. The top picture shows a robust construction material site in 1999, and the lower picture shows the reclaimed area in 2015. The reclamation of the site took almost 10 years due to the aridness of the area and the unusual precipitation patterns. Four Corners began discussions with the landowner, city, and county as reclamation was completed, looking for ways to utilize the land for community benefit. With limited land for public recreation, the Durango Mesa area was a prime location for possible utilization. What was developed through these efforts is a planned multi-use area that includes a cycling complex on the old pit area and multi-use athletic fields on the coal reclamation areas. The plan pictured here shows the pit area outlined in the dashed line area, and the arrows point to the fields on the old coal areas. Four Corners is to be commended for their efforts to highlight the beneficial uses of the post-reclaimed lands for community use. Congratulations to Four Corners Materials and United Oldcastle. Our second award goes to the Taft Hill Sand Home Office and Gravel Pit operated by Martin Marietta. It is for outstanding community outreach and education in the benefits of reclamation of mined lands. Again, it goes to the Taft Hill Sand and Gravel Home Office Pit. The pit was originally permitted in 1977. The operation is run by 11 employees who strive to develop a world-class safety culture and set the industry example for mining and reclamation. One of the biggest challenges has been public opposition, with a subdivision and a KOA campground on its permit boundaries. Public opposition to the project has been a historic issue. The Taft Hill team has worked diligently to improve relations with their neighbors and community. What they have done is they have held neighborhood meetings, conducted plant tours with schools and community groups, and also with emergency responders. Those tours include education on product knowledge, geology, mining and reclamation. They also work with the Colorado State University's construction management program to educate college students on the importance of production and the use of construction materials. A bonus feature of the site is the Pooter Bike Trail that showcases reclamation efforts at the mine site to the public. Environmental stewardship is important to the community and for outreach and education. This site includes enhancements for wildlife in the area for geese, ducks, turkeys, moose, and deer. The Taft Hill site was also recognized in an article titled Living in Harmony, which highlighted the efforts by Taft Hill and other Martin Marietta sites on the Front Range to reduce mining impacts and enhance wildlife. Living in Harmony is a story about habitat creation and enhancement through successful mine reclamation. Reclamation techniques included at Taft Hill are needed to reduce water augmentation, impacts to the neighbors, wildlife features, and real estate improvements. Those techniques include clay liners in phase 1 to eliminate long-term augmentation plans, accelerated reclamation timetables to lessen visual impacts and disruptions to neighbors, designing wildlife access points, and promoting lakeside views for the neighbors. Martin Marietta and the employees of Taft Hill Home Office Pit are to be commended for their reclamation techniques and community education. Congratulations to Taft Hill team and the Martin Marietta Corporation. We'd like to take this time and stuff to say thank you to Four Corners Materials, Martin Marietta for your Marietta for your outstanding efforts in reclamation and in community engagement.
This is Ginny again. I just want to congratulate, I know my division joins me, Four Corners Construction for excellence in reclamation, and Martin Marietta for excellence in education and outreach on the benefits and importance of reclamation. Congratulations.
Thank Okay, we're back live. Thank you to DRMS for adding that portion to our awards ceremony, and really appreciate the ongoing relationship we enjoy with Jenny Brannan and Russ Means at DRMS. And congratulations to all our winners. Because of you, the essential industry is what it is, and we appreciate that. Congratulations and thank you.
Hey, is that JT Mesite here?
That is me, yeah. I decided I figured I'd at least wake up. I was enjoying the fire a little too much during the awards.
Did you have an adult beverage during our technical hiccup?
I won't say yes or no to that.
How's the Broadmoor? How's the patio at the Broadmoor? Good?
Oh, it's beautiful as always. It seems like every year everybody finds me right here anyway, so I figured I'd just stick around and wait for everybody to pass by again.
Perfect.
Well, hey, thanks for helping us make sure everything ran smoothly when we did have that hiccup. And again, apologies to everybody for those technical difficulties. And thanks again to Todd for giving us the disclaimer at the beginning of all this that there may be some technical difficulties.
Yeah. I mean, again, everybody worked hard to eliminate that. We apologize for that, but at the same time, a lot of moving parts, as we're finding out in our very first and we believe our last
our last conference. Virtual annual conference.
Yeah.
Alrighty, well, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to CRMCA Board President Cole Jacobs with Martin Marietta. We have a pre-recorded session from Cole, and we will turn that over in just one moment. And it looks like we will end on time.
Hello, everyone. I'm Cole Jacobs with Martin Marietta. Welcome back to the virtual conference. In what has been a historically challenging year for all of us, it was vitally important for the association to continue its work. We have a tremendous team. The industry professionals who put countless hours toward advancing the association's mission, as well as the talented staff of the CRMCA, collaborated to ensure we continue to deliver the value that you've come to expect as a member. We remained focused, built on the foundation of our committee work. Our safety committee, led by Andy Geisler of Burnco and Dana Svetsson of Sherman and Howard. Our governmental affairs committee, which is a joint committee with the CSSGA, is led by Garrett Vara of Vara Companies. Our environmental and regulatory committee, led by James Sharn of Martin Marietta. Our technical committee, led by JT Mesite of the CRMCA. Our Build with Strength task force, led by Dana Rodkovich of Burnco and Emma Dolan of the CRMCA. Our Southern Market Committee, led by Darren Borgschatz of Martin Marietta. Our Central Market Committee, led by Jack Kern of Martin Marietta. Our Western Slope Market Committee, led by Scott Baumgartner of Whitewater Materials, and Communications, which is expertly led by Annalise Shepard. I should state the obvious. In the past, these committees met in person. With the pandemic, I was impressed to see that these committees adapted and met virtually, moving us forward in each functional area. Without a safe environment for our employees and customers, nothing else matters. Our safety committee is responsible for important initiatives such as the Driver of the Year Award. We remain focused on driver education and regulation challenges. This year, the CRMCA and CSSGA presented a total of 13 safety-related webinars. The webinars not only offered training for producer members, but also gave associate members the opportunity to showcase their knowledge and expertise. The green highlights represent the webinars with an emphasis on the concrete truck and delivery industry. Legislative issues are extremely important to our members, and the Governmental Affairs Committee is our eyes, ears, and voice. As this committee is led jointly with the CSSGA, Zane spoke earlier to our lobbying efforts, industry alignment, and our political action committees. I'd also like to thank and recognize Tatsi Reese and the Legislative Subcommittee for all of their hard work. We took an active role leading up to the recent election, holding town hall meetings and candidate forums with legislators who directly impact our industry. As Zane mentioned earlier today, these meetings were conducted jointly with the CSSGA, with an emphasis on enabling voters to make informed decisions. We are proud to have hosted Senator Cory Gardner, Representative Jason Crow, and candidates Lauren Boebert and Steve House. To be clear, we extended invitations to several candidates, regardless of party or position. The Technical Committee and its initiatives are critically important to the CRMCA. We remain focused on our partnerships with the municipalities as well as CDOT. For example, we continue to provide guidance to CDOT on the super air meter. Regarding outreach, we continue to educate through webinars. In fact, the recent seminar, Time Accelerated High Early Strength Concrete, had over 70 attendees. We also work closely with the ACI Rocky Mountain chapter to advance the topic of concrete quality. And finally, the Technical Committee oversees our ACI certifications, with hundreds of students tested annually. This slide shows the number of certification tests per year. This was especially difficult in 2020 as we shut down the program for several months due to the pandemic. Upon restarting in May, we launched in-person testing that adhered to CDC guidelines. This meant that instead of testing 35 participants in one session per week, we moved to 6 sessions per week with no more than 7 participants, allowing for proper social distancing. A big thank you to the CRMCA's own JT Masseet and Emma Dolan for making this happen. This picture shows us testing and certifying Colorado State University students in 2019. This year, we reduced the student group size while still providing the hands-on training needed. Students gained valuable firsthand experience with ready-mix concrete, even with the challenges presented by the pandemic. In 2020, we took a big step forward with the CRMCA-developed Concrete Testing Adherence Program, or CTAC. As a reminder, CTAC enables us to log and track testing as it happens. A collaborative effort with third-party testing labs, CTAC is a win-win for the ready-mix suppliers and our customers. This year, with the program newly rebranded, we set our sights on expanding beyond Colorado, recognizing it was a need that every state has. We also knew that taking it to the national level would help garner the resources needed to truly benefit our industry. The program has been presented to many state associations, and I should add that it has been very well received. We are in advanced talks with the NRMCA to expand the program nationally and in Canada. The CTAC program is one of our greatest recent achievements. Another achievement is the advancement of our Build with Strength initiative, also in partnership with the NRMCA. Our market committees are primarily focused on communicating the benefits of building with concrete. In 2020, with the guidance of our past president, Dana Rotkovich, the Build with Strength Committee transitioned away from individual task forces in separate market areas and adopted a streamlined statewide initiative that brought together the 3 market committees to form one task force. The team adapted to this year's challenges by scheduling online presentations, working with local groups to provide ICF and concrete education, and staying involved in other industry events to continue our partnerships. So what did we accomplish this year? The Southern Build with Strength group was instrumental in the ICF construction of the Trailhead townhomes in Teller County, we conducted virtual lunch and learns across Colorado. We completed a local case study for the Delta School ICF project. We sponsored a Denver Metro Chamber of Commerce meeting, just to name a few. The Build with Strength Colorado group worked with the NRMCA to create the Delta Middle School case study. Projects like this should be highlighted and leveraged in future education and promotion. Here's a picture of an event we attended before the pandemic. We're certainly looking forward to getting back to this format. At the CRMCA, we believe in communication and transparency. We reach out to members through social media, monthly blogs, and e-news. Hopefully, all of you received the latest issue of ConRock Colorado. This is just one of several publications that we develop or support. And finally, public relations. Our association does a tremendous job at giving back and supporting our communities. Our digital discussion series, covered earlier by Zane, was very successful this year. It's a great way to provide value to our members, especially when we can't meet in person. I'm excited to say this will be a permanent fixture moving forward. We welcome some heavy hitters this year, and I'm looking forward to our discussions in 2021. Similar to the CSSGA, there remains a tight management and business cycle that keeps our association moving forward on items that are critical to our members. This process is reviewed and updated annually. It provides a roadmap to follow and a measuring stick to assess progress. It's vitally important to have a highly functioning business cycle in place. We work alongside the CSSGA to ensure consistency and transparency. This year, we're forecasting net income of $26,000, which is just over $35,000 better than our plan. In March, when the news of the pandemic hit, we held several emergency meetings creating continuity plans and operating scenarios. We very quickly cut costs, and Todd worked with the hotels in Vail and Colorado Springs to negotiate the contracts we had signed for the summer and winter conferences. We also redesigned our certification programs to adhere to newly developed CDC guidelines for sanitizing and social distancing. This quick action helped the association and keep the association in good financial health for 2020 and beyond. One of my early concerns last March was that we could see some membership turnover. I'm proud to say that producer and associate membership remained strong in 2020, and we are not anticipating significant turnover in 2021. Thank you all for your support. Our 2021 budget considers the numerous challenges we faced and overcame in 2020. I will also note that our balance sheet shows sufficient cash reserves to operate for 6 months, which falls in the recommended range for associations such as ours. Looking ahead to 2021, we're looking forward to a time when things are back to normal, whenever and whatever that is. The legislative session is up in the air, but we'll be active regardless of the format. We expect another busy year with ACI certifications. Our Build with Strength team will continue to move forward, looking to influence future building code modifications. And I anticipate finalizing an agreement with NRMCA to advance our CTAC program nationally. With that, I pledge that our board of directors, committee members, countless volunteers, and CRMCA staff will be laser focused on providing you with the value you've come to expect. I wish you and your families a safe and peaceful holiday season. Thank you again for your support.
Okay. Thank you very much, Cole.
Todd, do we need to let people know where we've moved to?
We apparently are in the lobby now, right back at the Broadmoor, which is kind of where we started, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, rest assured, we are planning to be there 12 months from now. So again, looking forward to that. Thanks again, Cole. That was appreciate your leadership and certainly that update. As we wrap up our conference, I want to again thank our generous sponsors. They continue to step up year in and year out. And again, thank you to all our sponsors. I want to also thank you, our members, our committee chairs, those who work diligently throughout the year to drive our industry forward. Also, our board of director groups, and especially board president Zane Luttrell and Cole Jacobs. Their input and leadership has been invaluable, especially during this extremely different year. To the staff who drive the inner workings of the association and literally made this event happen. Emma Dolan, who keeps our ACI program on track and is our lead on our staff lead regarding Build with Strength, while also working half-time for ACPA. Among other things, she was in charge of all the conference packages you received. JT Mesite, who was recognized earlier in this award ceremony, but also I want to recognize him for the many, many ACI sessions that Cole referred to that had to be changed over and 2-a-days and so forth, and certifying all the people that needed it, again, as part of an essential industry. So in meeting the CDC guidelines, we were still able to pull it off. He's also the person that did all the fancy film splicing and editing, which again was very impressive. And certainly my partner in crime in this broadcast, and my right hand in this case, Ms. Annalise Shepard. Cole mentioned her role in communications, and on top of that, she is the driving force in both associations. We would clearly not be as successful as we have been without her true dedication to our associations. And assuming this virtual conference turns out successful, she is the true reason for that. So Annalise, thank you very much.
Thanks, Todd. I appreciate it. Nothing makes me more uncomfortable than doing this on film and having an audience that we can't see. So
you said you wanted to record this section. In closing, I'd like to say 2020 has probably been the most difficult year many of us will ever face, or certainly have faced. Businesses and people are struggling and tested like never before. It has been said, 2020 is not a year you get everything you want. It is a year to appreciate everything you have. Frankly, that sums it up for me, and I personally will be glad when it's over. I believe that I'm not alone in wishing 2020 goodbye. As promised, we'll close our 2020 conference with a video highlight. To make this happen, we worked closely with MSHA and a participating quarry to give 2020 the send-off it truly deserves. I hope you enjoy. Thanks for attending our conference, and be safe.
Bear with me while we share this screen.
Goodbye. Thanks again for attending.
Bye. Take care. See you in 2021.